Well, I'm going to tell you guys a story about hanging out with the homeless people. So I used to work for this company. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of it, uh, but it was a pretty shitty company. I used to work for a bunch of fat cats who all they cared about was money and they didn't give a shit about their employees. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. This story, I'm going to tell you, I used to get off about 3 a.m. and I'd sit on the porch and listen to music and drink beer and hang out for a little bit. Well, this particular day, I had about 6 beers and I got to feeling good and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to hop on my bicycle and I'm going to go for a ride on the Greenway. So I jump on my bicycle and I'm riding down through there. And I get underneath the interstate bridge where I like to hang out and smoke cigarettes and drink and, just chill for a little bit. And this homeless guy walks up. And he's clearly homeless. He's got a big bushy beard and long shaggy hair, ripped up clothes, just a clearly homeless guy. And he just walks up and he's like, hey man, you mind if I bum a cigarette from you? I'm like, yeah, sure man, why not? So I give him one of my last cigarettes. I had one for me. So I sat down and I smoked one with him. And we started shooting the shit a little bit. And he's like, hey man, I really appreciate that cigarette you gave me. Would you like a swig of something? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not going to turn down free alcohol. Why not? So he hands me this Gatorade bottle that was full of this, like, brownish liquid. All right, so I take a swig of that shit. It turns out to be apple pie moonshine. And it tastes good. So I take another swig, and I hand it to him. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, man, I got a flask full of Jim Beam right here in my pocket. So we pass the alcohol back and forth, and we're telling stories and chatting and whatnot. So he's like, man, I really, really appreciate you giving me your last cigarette. I'm like, hey, it's no problem, man. He's like, I tell you what, why don't you walk up here, we'll meet up with some of my friends, and we'll go to the 7-Eleven, and I'll get you a pack of smokes. All right, cool. So we walk up there, and we get to his buddies out there at the gazebo, and one of them, all I remember about these guys was that one of them had a cast on his arm. He'd just gotten out of the hospital, which was like a block and a half up from where we were hanging out at. And the other guy, he looked like he was strung out on heroin. He was just kind of like sitting here like this. He didn't even look at us. He just kind of like sat here. And so they're like, well, here's some money. Go up there and get you some cigarettes, man. And get you some, whatever. So we walk up to 7-Eleven. And the guy walks out, and at this point, I had already drank so much of that moonshine, I couldn't stand up. So he wouldn't even let me walk into the 7-Eleven. So he walks out, and he's carrying a pack of cigarettes and, like, 3 Steel Reserves. And he hands me one of them. I'm like, all right, cool, hell yeah, more alcohol, free alcohol. So we get back to the gazebo, and we're sitting around, we're chilling, we're shooting the shit. Well, one of the guys, the guy with the cast, he looks at me and, granted, like I said, I'd just gotten off from work and I was wearing all raggedy clothes. I was wearing a sleeveless t-shirt, dirty, ripped up jeans, and an old pair of sandals. And he's like, so, how long have you been living on the street? And I didn't want to lie, or I didn't want to be honest with him and, tell him, oh, I've got my own apartment up there. I've got a car of my own, all this bullshit. So I was like, about 3 months. So, I drink about half this Steel Reserve, and I'm feeling fucked up. And I'm like, I suddenly have that moment of clarity. When you're drunk and you have that sudden moment of clarity when you suddenly realize what's going on around you. And I'm like, here I am, sitting with like 3 homeless dudes. They think I'm homeless. I'm wasted. It's like 12 in the morning, or 12 in the afternoon. I need to go home, man. I need to go to bed. So I'm like, all right, I'll see you guys. I'm going home. I'm leaving. So I jump on my bicycle, and I start riding it, and I get about 50 yards, and I fall off of it. And so I pick it back up, and I ride another 50 yards, and I fall right back off. And I'm like, you know what? This is not going to fucking work. So I grab by the handlebars, and I start walking beside of it, and I start seeing that front tire go way over here, and then way over there, and then way back over here. All these people are staring at me on the Greenway. They're looking at me like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And so finally I'm just like, I get to the Wasena Bridge. And I know I have to cross this bridge to get home. And I already remember myself weaving like I was. And I know that if I try to make it across this bridge, I'm going to fall out in traffic. And I'm going to get run over by a car. So I start thinking about my options. Either I can risk getting run over by a car, or I can try to wade the river with my bicycle, in which case I'll probably get swept away and drown and die in the fucking undercurrent. Or I could just camp out under the bridge. So I choose the latter of the options. So I lay down on this giant rock that's about that big, and just pass out for about 3 or 4 hours. I wake up at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My head is pounding. I look at my watch and I'm like, oh shit. So I finally get up and I stumble my way home. And I'm going to tell you something right now. That was one of the worst hangovers I've ever had in my entire life, man. I even called out of work that night. That was some bullshittery.
Bullshittery.
But I tell you what, man. That was my story about hanging out with the homeless. So I'm glad I survived. Hallelujah. Praise be to God. And fuck the police.
Well, the first got pulled in the second rolled at the third of a turn, and it won't stop rolling. I'm on the focus singing the train wreck blues. Well, the snow kept falling and we all did fear, and you heard it blame the engineer, but there's blood on the train track singing the train wreck blues. Well, I told my baby I've been coming home. Took the first train across the Rocky Mountain range. But some things you just can't know, my lord, and it looks like